As you can see by the title of this, we are doing an Adele look on my roommate Amy. I'm starting off with a little bit of lip balm and a primer. All of the products that I am using are going to be listed in the description box below with links to all the products as well. The foundation that I'm using is a medium coverage, and I'm just going to press that in and buff it on with a flat kabuki style brush to make sure that it looks airbrushed and like it is part of her skin. For concealer, I'm taking a concealer that matches her skin tone very well and just using it right under the eye and blending it in with a small concealer brush, and then using my fingertip to make sure it is all blended very seamlessly. And then just into the inner corner, I'm going to use one that is a touch lighter than her skin tone just to lift and highlight this area. To start on the contour, I'm going to be using a liquid foundation in a few shades deeper than her skin tone, and I'm using a flat foundation brush and really kind of striping this where I want it, for lack of a better term, and then blending it upwards in soft sweeping motions, making sure that I don't have too much product on my brush at any one time. And then I'm going to bring it around the cheekbone as well and onto the jawline. And then moving back to my original foundation brush, I'm just going to buff that over top of everything. To set most of the face in place, I'm using a pressed powder foundation and just pressing that into the skin to add extra coverage. And then around the eye area, I'm using a light luminous powder just to highlight. To further enhance the contour, I am using a matte bronzer that's not too warm and not too cool. I didn't want it to be a straight taupe because it doesn't look like that in the picture, and I'm just taking that around the jaw as well. For cheeks, I'm using a soft pink blush, nothing too bright, nothing too in your face. This look isn't very blushy. And now we're moving on to eyebrows. I'm using a pencil just to kind of map out my shape and get some bulk to the brow, and also to really go ahead and extend the tail of her brow. Adele's brow seems to reach very far down. And then I'm going to go ahead and use a powder over top of that just to make sure everything looks nice and full and thick. Adele always has very dark brows. To prime Amy's eyelids, I'm using my favorite eyeshadow primer from Smashbox and just blending that in. And then I'm going to set it over top with an eyeshadow that is just one shade lighter than Amy's skin tone, and just blend that right over top to make sure everything will blend beautifully. Now I'm starting with my transition color. This is a light color from the Lorac Mega Pro 2 palette, and I'm just going to blend that right through the socket line and then clean my brush off and blend everything upwards and make sure there's no line. Next, I'm going to take one shade darker, nestle that in right below that original transition color, and get a good solid line, and then clean my brush off again and make sure it is nice and blended. You're going to notice a theme here. I'm going to apply and blend and apply and blend. Now I'm taking an even darker color. This color has a bit of a red tone to it, and I'm going to apply that right into the socket line with a smaller brush and blend out again with that fluffy original brush. And one last time, I'm taking an even deeper color. This one is almost a wine shade, putting that right into the socket line as thin as possible, and then blending it out with that original fluffy brush to make sure there's no lines and everything is seamless. For the mobile lid, I'm using a light champagne color with a bit of a shimmer to it, and I'm using the edge of this brush to really clean up the edge. For below the eye, I'm going to take a couple of the shades from the top lid that are mixed together and just use that on a tiny brush. And then using a small angled brush that I used for the brows before, I'm going to apply a little bit and kind of wing out the bottom. This will make sense a little bit later. It's going to give us a guide for when we apply the liner. Now I'm going to start with liner. I'm using a gel liner with an angled brush. I'm going to start by putting that right in a thin line up against the lashes and really getting this kind of thin at the inner corner. And then to build my wing, I'm going to put a straight line following the guide that I gave myself earlier, sort of creating a double wing as well. And then I'm going to start from that point again and just pull back towards the center of the eye until the wing is as thick as I'd like it to be. And then I'm going to connect it up to the original line that I drew and fill everything in and sharpen up everything at the very end. For the other side, I don't have any kind of special technique or anything. I just go ahead and put on that second line, doing the same thing on the first side, but I start with the wing this time. So I put the first line and just pull everything back in towards the eye until it's as thick as the other side. And then I go ahead and fill it in and then connect it back up with a thin line all the way to the inner corner. Taking whatever's left on that brush, I'm going to push that into the lower lashes and then blend it out with the fluffy brush from underneath that I was using earlier. Nothing special for mascara since I'm going to be using a pair of lashes. I'm just going to coat the upper and lower lashes with a nice good coat of mascara. And then for lashes, I'm using a pair of Adele Demi Wispies. I cut off the first 3 or 4 clusters of lashes so that they'd be more of a corner lash, and I'm going to push this right into the lash line. I always like to use a liner when I'm going for a red lip. I just think it provides a nice clean edge. The edge of her lip doesn't look super painted on. It looks kind of natural almost, but I still like to use a liner to make sure I stay within the lines. And I'm going for a bright red lip here. I put this on and I immediately sort of regretted my decision, so I went over with a little bit of a darker red gloss to kind of tone it down. For some finishing touches, I'm putting a tiny bit of highlighter across the cheekbones, and then I am also going to add a touch more contour as well. And this is the finished look. Again, this is inspired by the Time magazine cover that Adele did recently, and I hope you all enjoy. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment below if there's any other celebrity looks that you'd like me to take on. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you're not already so that you can be here every Monday and Thursday for my new videos. Don't forget to check me out on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and Facebook. All of the links to those things will be in the description box below, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!